Okay, next witness, please.
State calls Randall Nelson. Randall Nelson.
You solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give is to be the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I do.
Please tell us your name, spell your last name for us.
My name is Randall Kirk Nelson. Last name is Nelson.
Mr. Nelson, where are you employed?
I'm employed with the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation Crime Laboratory in Nashville.
And what's your job title then?
I'm employed at the laboratory as a forensic scientist.
What are your jobs, or what are your responsibilities as a forensic scientist?
Within the laboratory, I'm assigned to the Trace Evidence Microanalysis Unit. And within that unit, I do a number of different types of testing on different types of evidence. Particularly, I do testing on fire debris for accelerant detection. I do glass comparisons, paint comparisons, and then a category that we kind of call chemical analysis is just kind of a hodgepodge of evidence types that come in that need some sort of identification or chemical analysis done to them to try to determine what they are or why they might be important in a particular case.
And what's your educational background that qualifies you for that position with TBI?
I have a bachelor's degree in chemistry from David Lipscomb College in Nashville. I've completed graduate coursework in chemistry from Middle Tennessee State University, and I am presently completing a master's degree in forensic science administration from Oklahoma State University. And been employed at the laboratory for approximately 25 years, worked in the microanalysis unit for about 19, and during that process, during that time, I have completed a training program for each and every analysis that I perform, as well as attend a variety of workshops, seminars, symposia, all that deal with either the analysis that I perform, the instrumentation that I use, or just various aspects of forensic science in general.
And how many evidence examinations have you performed during your career with TBI? Do you know an estimate?
Well into the thousands, many thousands.
Have you been qualified as an expert before in various courts?
Yes, sir, I have.
Your Honor, at this time we tender Mr. Nelson as an expert in chemical analysis.
No objection.
Okay, so qualified.
And can you work out of the Nashville lab?
That's correct.
National TBI lab, and that's accredited lab?
Yes, sir, it is.
What does it have to do to be accredited?
We go through a process of internal assessment as well as external assessment, where we have people, other forensic scientists across the country that will come in as a team and assess our laboratory on a 5-year schedule. They look at everything from our policies and procedures to our analytical techniques, just every aspect of the laboratory to ensure that we meet certain minimum specifications and criteria that are established by an accrediting body for forensic science labs. And if we comply and meet all those requirements, then we are allowed to be accredited as a forensic science laboratory in the United States.
And what were you asked to do in this case?
In this particular case, I received a white tank top type shirt that had some stains on them, and was asked to determine what might have caused the stains on that shirt.
What did you do to conduct your analysis?
Basically, I typically in that scenario, I'm looking to determine if there was something that was acidic or basic on this. That would be my first thing to look for. and so I'm going to try to figure out if there's the pH of any material that's on the stain, and then do some microchemical tests to see if I can attempt to identify what acid or base that might be.
Now, did you come to some conclusions about the white tank top?
I did determine that there were certainly some stains on the tank top. I tested those areas and found that my test indicated the presence of bleach on the shirt.
Did you prepare a report of your findings?
Yes, sir, I did.
Let me show you 406. Ask if you recognize that.
Yes, this is a copy of my report.
Get off of 406 into evidence. And let me show you what's been marked 309. So, do you recognize 309?
Yes, this is similar to the pictures that I took of the garment, and we have a tag here that would have been our tag from the laboratory.
Okay. And
this is where I marked the envelope that it was in with the case number, the date that I worked at, my initials, and I sealed it. This is where I opened the bag and sealed it back with my initials and the date that I sealed it here. So.
okay, was this particular item assigned an exhibit number, TBI exhibit number?
Yes. So our laboratory number and then the exhibit number here, 15A, is the exhibit number that was assigned to this particular exhibit in this case.
So is this the item you perform your analysis on?
Yes, it is.
And what was your conclusion? What was your finding of this?
I tested an area. I believe it was over in this area here, and determined that the stains here were. Well, here's where I cut out a sample, and that was where I took a sample and actually tested it to see if it was indicative of bleach. And so those tests that I performed indicated there was a basic substance on the shirt, and then that the chemical test I performed would indicate that it was could be something like bleach that was on there.
Did you outline the stain you're talking about?
No, the stains were already outlined by another analyst who had worked that previously.
Okay, so this had already been examined by somebody else in TBI?
Yes, that's correct.
Does your file reflect who that was, or what kind of analysis that was?
It was examined by someone in our Knoxville laboratory. So at the time that I worked, I did not know who had done that particular analysis.
That's already been entered in. And pass the witness.
Mr. Nelson, do you have your report up there?
I do.
Exhibit 406. May I approach you? Thank you. No question.
Mr. Nelson, thank you. Next, please.
Back just a second. This thing called Jody Long.
Raise your right hand, please. You solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony that you're about to give in this case be the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God.
And then you went over to somebody else's house?
Uh-huh.
Had you ever been to this other house before?
No.
What did you observe, without getting into conversations, what did you observe when you arrived there?
There was some people there waiting for me. We went in for a few minutes and then came back out and loaded up my car and drove off.
Who went into the house?
Me and Vince. I can't remember if his girlfriend was there or not, but it was me and Vince that had went in. And the other people were already in the house.
And before you left, did you use any drugs?
Yeah.
What kind of drugs?
I had done some morphine and some crack and some pot.
And was that from Vince?
Yeah.
Do you recall, let me get that calendar up. We just hold it right here, right now. Showing January of 2007. Do you recall what day that was?
I don't recall exactly the day. I know that it was, or the date, but I know that it was Monday or Tuesday.
Monday or Tuesday? Was it early January or late January?
Honestly, I don't remember. I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. Do you recall about what time of day it was when you arrived at this other person's house?
Afternoon. It was after 12, before 5.
Still light outside?
Oh, yeah.
And then after you got in the house and used the drugs, what did you do?
We got in the car and left. Well, packed the car, put some stuff in the trunk, the clothes and stuff.
What kind of car did you have?
It was a Nissan Maxima, green one, with tinted windows.
Was it a sedan then?
It's 4-door, yeah.
4-door
It's
sedan?
4-door, yeah.
You said we got in the car. Who was it that got in the car?
It was me and a girl and 2 guys.
Had you ever met them before?
No.
Can you describe what their appearance to the jury? Were they white or black?
Oh, there were 3 black kids, yeah. 3.
They were all black
Uh-huh.
people? Okay, and then, were they young or old?
They were young.
Who got in where?
Vanessa got in the front and the guys got into the back.
You said Vanessa now. Did you just come to know her name during the trip?
Through the trip, yeah. And actually, I don't even think the names were... We didn't really even give out names during the trip other than me saying, no, introducing myself. Nobody really gave their name that I remember. And I didn't really learn about the names until afterwards.
Now, so the black female got in the front passenger seat,
Yes.
and then the 2 males got in the back?
Yes.
And what did they have with them?
Just some clothes, stuff.
Do you recall what the clothes were in?
Some were garbage bags, some were just other like overnight bags. I don't recall exactly what they looked like or what kind of bags they were. Other than the garbage bags, I do remember the garbage bags.
Did they put those in the trunk?
Uh-huh.
All right, and from there, did you know where you were going when you left?
Just that I was going to Kentucky. They pretty much told me which way to go and where to go.
And so, what happened along the trip? Did you?
Not a lot. I smoked a couple of blunts and just talked because I didn't have a radio at the time. And of course, I was hot, so I was packing.
So you did most of the talking?
I did most of the talking, yes.
What about the 2 males in the back? Did they talk to you much?
No, not to me at all. Hardly.
What about the female in the front? Did you talk to her?
Just a little bit. Not a lot. I mean, there was not a lot of conversation. It was just mainly me talking about my son that had passed away at the time.
I'm sorry, talking about your...
My son that passed away a couple of years before.
Can you describe if you recall, or are able to describe the demeanor of the 3 individuals in your car? How did they appear to you?
Normal. I mean, everybody seemed like they were okay, quiet.
And did you stop anywhere along the way?
We did. We stopped at a gas station to put some more gas in the car, and they went in and got something to drink.
Who went in?
All three of them. All 3 of the guys and the girl.
Did you go in with them?
No, I didn't.
Do you remember whether they purchased anything?
Not really. There might have been some drinks or something purchased. I don't remember exactly anything that was gotten.
Did they buy you anything?
No, I don't believe so.
And what money did you use? How did you pay for the gas?
It was money that Vince had given me.
And from there, after the gas station, you keep on driving up?
We did. We kept driving for quite a ways, and then we stopped at a Wendy's right before I dropped them off. And we just went through the drive-thru.
So nobody got out of the car there? Did you order food?
No, I don't believe that I did.
Did anybody else get food?
Yeah, I believe they all got some food.
And who paid for the food?
They did.
And then after you stopped at Wendy's, or you went through the drive-thru at Wendy's, what happened next?
I took them to the little White House and helped them unload because I was ready to get back.
Okay, so from the time you left this person's house, was that here in Knoxville?
Yes.
To the time you got to this White House you're describing, do you know about how many hours have passed?
It was starting to get dark. It was starting to get dark. It hadn't got completely dark yet, I don't believe.
How long do you estimate the trip lasted?
About 4 hours, probably. Maybe
Longer than you had expected?
longer than I had expected, yeah. I was just thinking a couple hours down the road and back.
And you said they gave you directions. Had you ever been to that White House before?
No,
Who was giving you directions?
the guys in the back.
What happened once you got to this White House?
We just all got out and unloaded stuff, took the bags out of the trunk, and that was it.
What was done with the bags?
They were taken inside.
Did you ever see anybody in the house, come out of the house?
There was one girl that answered the door. I was expecting an older lady, but I don't believe that she was that much older than me.
Did you talk to her?
No, other than to say, hey, and just pass, just put the stuff on the porch. There was nothing said between us that I remember.
Do you think it was getting dark at that point?
It was getting dark. I don't believe it had gotten full dark yet. I'm thinking it was probably 6 or so. Maybe. I'm not really sure.
Speculation,
Second.
She's not sure. Did you go straight back home after that?
I went back to Vince's after that.
Did they leave any items with you?
No, there was nothing left.
They took it all out?
They took everything out.
Let me show you 400. Ask if you recognize what 400 is.
That's Vince.
Say that in my
That's Vince, yes.
This is the one that made the arrangements.
Yes.
Did you ever receive any payment or money from the individuals in the car?
No, I did not.
And are you able today to identify anybody here in the courtroom that was in the car?
Yes.
Can you point to anybody that was in the car and describe what they're wearing?
He said it was Mr. Thomas. And I can't describe what he was wearing. I don't remember what he was
I'm talking
wearing.
about today.
Oh, today. Oh, the blue shirt.
Let the record reflect she's identified George Thomas. Was he one of the ones in the back?
Yes.
Did he sit behind you or behind Vanessa?
I honestly don't remember. I honestly don't remember which side he sat on.
Pass the witness.
Afternoon, Ms. Long. You said on direct examination that you thought that this was on a Monday or a Tuesday in early January, right? Let me put this calendar back up. And you don't know when in early January it was?
No, sir.
Of 2007. And do you remember testifying at a prior proceeding?
Yes, sir.
I'm going to show you, Miss Long. Let me zoom out just a little bit. You able to see that okay? From there? Okay. And let's go to, this is a prior transcript where you testified at the prior hearing.
Yes, sir.
It says J. Long, right?
Yes, sir.
It says direct by Mr. Price, right?
Yes, sir.
And that's Mr. Leland Price, who just asked you questions a moment ago,
Yes,
right? Okay. And Mr. Price asked you, and we've talked about January of 2007. Do you know about what time of January we're talking about? I read that correctly?
Mm-hmm.
All right. And you answered, it was towards the first of the month, right at, about around the first of the month. I don't think it quite made it to the 15th or the middle of the month yet. I said I can't be completely sure for all of this. I read that correctly?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So, at that prior testimony, you weren't able to say when it was. In fact, you said that I can't be completely sure for all of this, right?
Right.
Okay. And so today's...
I'm objecting to, I think it's misleading on that transcript. I'm looking at it.
Well, I'll show it back to you.
Let's look at the whole page there.
Well, we can look at the whole page, and Mr. Price certainly will have an opportunity to redirect. But you said right here I said I can't be completely sure for all of this. Is that correct?
Right.
Okay. So in your prior testimony, you never said that you thought this was on a Monday or a Tuesday, did you?
I believe I did, yes, sir.
Yeah.
Mr. Johnson,
Yes, Your Honor.
look up at lines 8 and 9.
Oh, I'm sorry. That is my bad. Thank you, Your Honor. You said you smoked a few blunts on the way up? Mm-hmm. Okay. And at the time, you had never seen anyone in the car before that day, right?
No.
You certainly, before that time, had never met George Thomas before, had you?
No, not that I can recall.
I have no further questions.
All right, Ms. Long, thank you.
Thank you.
Next, please.
State calls Bernard Wagner. And Judge, can we approach?
All right.
During Wagner's
I believe
testimony.
we've met before, haven't we?
Yes, Your Honor, I think we have.
On many occasions. Just step over there to the podium.
Yes, Your Honor. I'm here simply to be present during Agent Wagner's testimony. And I have for Your Honor, under the TUI regulations, which are federal regulations which require, in this instance, the U.S. Attorney in conjunction with ATF to authorize the extent or scope of testimony of a federal employee. So I'm here just to be assured, or to assure, that there are no improper questions that are asked outside the scope. If I may approach, I have a copy of the authorization letter for the court to view. Sure. Ladies, you have a copy of it.
Well, I believe the agent was just present and participated in the arrest of the defendant, correct?
And there's 2 or 3 items of evidence that they collected on a subsequent search warrant. I don't anticipate this being a long testimony in this particular case.
Okay, and Ms. Harbour, I don't think there should be any controversy over the boundary lines of this testimony. Do you see any?
Well, I do remember, and I don't know if Agent Wagner's in here yet. Okay, there was one, the defense attorneys mentioned to me, I think during in the first trial, that there was one subject covered. I think he might have mentioned that George Thomas was known to the local law enforcement, and that caused a problem. We had to have a curative instruction. So I was going to make sure that Agent Wagner knew not to say anything along those lines, that George Thomas was known to the law enforcement agencies up there.
Okay, and that's more by way of almost a motion limiting. So is there any problems surely there's no problems in him not stating that? I would take it. Is he present in the courtroom?
Yes.
Okay, well, yeah. Do you understand that, Agent? There should be no testimony about him being known to local law enforcement?
Yes, Your Honor, I understand.
Okay. And is there any other, Mr. Dillard, any other problems?
No, Your Honor.
Okay, we ought to be able to get through this in fairly short order.
I think so, Your Honor.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
I sure haven't seen you in a long time. Well, why don't we swear the agent in front of the jurors? But you can have a seat here. We'll bring the jurors in, and then you'll get yourself.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, I'm going to administer the oath to the witness, please.
You solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give in this case will be the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Yes, sir.
Please tell us your name
Bernard Wagner,
and how do you spell the last name?
Waggoner.
Hey, Wagner, where do you work?
I'm a special agent with the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives. I'm currently stationed here in the Knoxville, Tennessee field office.
How long have you been working? Is that commonly known as the ATF?
Yes, sir, it is.
How long have you been working for the ATF?
In excess of 24 years.
And as a special agent with the ATF, what are your job responsibilities?
My primary job duties are the investigation and prosecution of violations of the federal firearms, explosive, and arson laws, among others.
Now, let me direct your attention to Wednesday, January the 10th of 2007. Did you have occasion to participate in an investigation that day?
Yes, sir. On January the 10th, I was advised of the crimes that had happened, the incident that we're here today over. I came into the ATF office in Knoxville, and my supervisor and some other agents and a police officer were there, and they told me about it.
Okay. Now, did you go anywhere from the Knoxville office?
Yes, sir, we did. My supervisor advised me that I was going to go to Kentucky in an attempt to locate and arrest the suspects, the defendant, George Thomas, being one of those suspects. I went and got some clothes, and I drove with my supervisor, the ATF supervisor, to Kentucky that night.
So you didn't do any, other than driving up there, you all did not attempt to apprehend the suspects that night?
Not that night, no, sir.
Okay, what happened the next day on January the 11th?
Early on the morning of January the 11th, myself, the other ATF agents, and law enforcement, we went from, I believe we spent the night in Danville, Kentucky. We drove over to Lebanon, Kentucky, where we believe the suspects were. We went to the Lebanon Police Department and had a meeting, a briefing about the investigation.
And from there, where did you go?
From there, we went to locate a female, Stacy Lawson, who I was told was an associate of the suspects, and she might know where they were at.
Did you find Stacy Lawson?
Yes, sir, I did.
Okay, and after finding Stacy Lawson, from there, where did you go?
After we found Stacy Lawson, we went to the residence of Natasha Hayes. We initially took her back to the Lebanon Police Department, but then we went to, I believe it's 231 Shuck Avenue in Lebanon, Kentucky. Natasha Hayes, a female, lives there, and that's where we believe that the suspects were.
And once you arrived at 231 Shuck Avenue, how far is that from the Lebanon Police Station?
Maybe 2 blocks.
Once you arrived at 231 Shuck Avenue, what did you do?
Myself and several other law enforcement officers, ATF agents, and Deputy U.S. Marshals surrounded the residence. One of the law enforcement officers called the phone of Natasha Hayes and advised, I believe, her that the law enforcement were outside and everybody in the house needed to come out with their hands up.
Okay. Did they come out?
They eventually did. They got on the loudspeaker on one of the marked cruisers and announced the presence of police, law enforcement, and to come out. Natasha Hayes and the other female, Vanessa Coleman, they came out first and were taken into police custody and placed into a police car, maybe separate police cars. Then another suspect, Latavius Cobbins, came out with his hands up and was taken into police custody.
Now, was there anybody else apprehended then?
Yes, sir. George Thomas was apprehended a few minutes later inside the house.
What did you do to apprehend him?
He wouldn't come out. We saw someone looking out the blinds of the upstairs window where there was a bedroom in the house. One of the females told us who was in there. My supervisor told me to get some of the other police officers and marshals and go into the house and take whoever was in there in custody. We made entry into the ground floor of the house, and there's a stairwell up to the top floor. It's an older house, and they had turned an attic into a bedroom loft area. And we yelled several times for him to come down with his hands up, and then after a minute or two he came down with his hands up or stuck straight out because of the way the stairwell was.
Did you ask him to take his hands and stick them straight out because of the...
Hands up, and then after a minute or two he came down with his hands up or stuck straight out because of the way the stairwell was.
Did you ask him to take his hands and stick them straight out because of the stairwell?
Yes, sir. It's so steep at an angle that he really couldn't. If he held his hand straight up above his head, we wouldn't be able to see his hands, so we asked him to stick his hand straight out. He did, and we took him into custody, and he was taken down to the Lebanon Police Department.
Now, once he stuck his hands out and came down, was there any physical resistance from him at that point?
No, sir.
And so, did you observe him being injured or hurt in any way?
No, sir, he was not.
And he was, at that point then, once you all had him down the stairs, he was cooperative?
Yes, sir.
And was he placed in the patrol car?
I believe so. He was taken by, I stayed at the house to secure, we still had to secure the upstairs. We had not gone up yet. We didn't know if anyone else was still upstairs. So I stayed there and helped secure the upstairs, and he was taken down to the police station by another police officer or some of the agents or deputy marshals.
Now, did you go down to the Lebanon police station that afternoon? What time was that Mr. Thomas was arrested?
It was in the morning. It was before noon, maybe a little bit before noon.
And did you, that afternoon, did you go down to the Lebanon police station to assist them?
Yes, sir, I did.
All right. What did you do?
The initial thing that I was asked to do by my supervisor was I was to sit in the hallway of the Lebanon Police Department. The hallway intersects at the back of the police department, and if I sat where it intersects, I could watch. George Thomas was set in a chair to my side a few feet away, and I could watch him, and I could watch the two females who were sitting in the hallway in the other direction.
Two females, do you know their names?
It's Vanessa Coleman and Natasha Hayes.
Were the individuals kept separate to your knowledge?
Yes, sir, to my knowledge.
And you recall, were they being interviewed at any point while you were there?
They were all, I believe, interviewed at some point.
Did you do the interview?
No, sir, I did not.
Do you know who was doing the interview?
I know that the Knox County Sheriff's Office from Knox County, Tennessee, they had some investigators, detectives there. Sheriff Tim Hutchison was there, J.J. Jones, Neville Norman. There were other people there, but I believe they were doing the primary interviews, but I wasn't present when the suspects were interviewed.
And during the time you were watching Mr. Thomas, was he allowed to go to the bathroom or any kind of movement like that?
Yes, sir. That was one of my responsibilities. If he or anybody else, one of the women, wanted to go to the bathroom or they wanted to drink water, they were allowed to. We may have let Mr. Thomas smoke a cigarette. I know that I let Latavius Cobbins smoke a cigarette out in the back parking lot, but
Do you recall the order in which they were interviewed by the Sheriff's Department, if you know?
I don't remember.
Now, did you ever go back and to 231 Shuck Avenue and conduct a search of that residence?
Yes, sir, I did. After some time sitting watching Mr. Thomas and the two females, my supervisor replaced me doing that with someone else, and he instructed me to go back to the Shuck Avenue address and help some other law enforcement officers search the residence.
Let me show you some pictures. Were those pictures taken during your search?
Yes, sir.
I think I've got them up here first. I'll have you identify. Let me show you what's been marked 196 through 199 and ask if you recognize those.
Yes, sir, I do.
What are those pictures of?
The first one, which is of a house, is marked 196. This is the front of 231 Shuck Avenue, the residence that we were at. The second one is the lot numbered 197, is the back utility room that someone had made into a spare bedroom. There's a single bed, but there's also a washer and dryer that were not working that are back there. And
We'll put those up here. So those were from that day,
that afternoon.
that afternoon, 196 and 197?
Yes, sir.
All right, and then what about 98 and 99?
198 and 199 are photographs of a white shoebox, I suppose, and it has a silver 22 caliber revolver and a hair bow in it.
And was that the next day, the Friday?
Yes, sir. That was from the 12th that it was recovered.
We'd offer those four in evidence before we
All
put those
right.
up there. And then let me show you 411. Ask if you recognize what 411 is.
411 is a photograph of, this is the utility room where the bed and the washer and dryer are, and there's a water heater, and this is a closet where the water heater is. And when we looked in it, there was a pile of clothes and a bag and I believe some shoes maybe. There was a pile of dirty clothing in there.
And then I think that one's already been introduced. Let me show you 282 as well and ask if you recognize any of that.
This is the red purse that we saw sitting on the headboard of the bed in the 197 photograph in the utility room. This purse is the purse there on the headboard.
Thank you. Well, I'll let you give you a chance here while they're all looking at it at the same time to explain that. There's a laser pointer right there. We have a light. Okay, 196.
Yes, sir.
What is that we're seeing there?
That is the front of Natasha Hayes' residence on Shuck Avenue in Lebanon, Kentucky. I believe that's me in the blue jacket in front of the house.
Okay, let me ask you, you mentioned something about blinds, somebody peeking through the blinds. Which window are we talking about?
Yes, sir. Here at the front of the house, someone peeked out the blinds while we had the house surrounded, and we were calling people out.
That was from the upstairs?
Yes, sir.
Very-
This is a photograph of the backyard of the house in a detached garage. There were a couple of dogs chained up in the backyard. This is toward the rear, looking at the rear of the Shuck Avenue address.
I don't know if that's the right exhibit number. Well, let me just... Okay, let me show you... Yeah, I think the exhibit number is 419.
Yes, sir.
Be honest. 419. You didn't identify that up there at the stand. What is that?
This is a photo, that's me in the blue jacket. I believe that's Natasha Hayes, the female that lived there behind me. This is the upstairs loft bedroom area that I spoke of earlier, and it's a keyboard we were looking through searching that bedroom. It's the upstairs of the residence.
That's a computer there.
Yes, sir. There was a computer, and she had some keyboard and musical equipment.
All right, 197.
This is the photograph of the utility room that they had turned into a spare bedroom. This is the purse I spoke about, the headboard of the bed. This is the washer and dryer that were not hooked up, were not working. There's piles of clothes in the floor, and the closet with the hot water heater is back to the left of the washer and dryer.
And 282.
This is a photograph of the purse that we took from the house, and those are the contents of the purse.
was this confiscated?
It was confiscated we looked in the billfold, the wallet, to see who it belonged to, but we didn't take the items out of the purse. This photograph was taken, I believe, later at the Knox County Sheriff's Office. We just took the entire purse with its contents without looking through it or searching it. We did look at the billfold.
Did you identify from the billfold any identification?
Yes, sir. It had Vanessa Coleman's driver's license. There was also a photograph of Latavius Cobbins in it.
Is that,
That's a photograph of Latavius Cobbins, and right there, that is a Kentucky driver's license for Vanessa Coleman.
okay, let's see. Let me go back there. I think that was identified as 411.
Yes, sir.
Yes. 411. Now, where was that in the house?
This is the closet in the utility room. It has the hot water heater. This is how we found it, open like this, and there was a pile of clothes and bag. There's a bag and some, I believe, some shoes down here at the bottom. But this was in the back bedroom, the utility room.
Is that the same bedroom that you found the purse in?
Yes, sir, it is.
Thank you. Now, I didn't introduce these. I moved 196 through 199, 411, and 419.
Right.
Now, did you participate in a search of 2316 Chittenden Street as part of your work in this case?
Yes, sir, I did.
Do you recall when that was?
That would have been, I believe, on the morning of January the 15th. We executed 3 federal search warrants. The first one was the morning of January the 15th. The second one was the evening or night of January the 15th. And then we did one the next day on the 16th.
Now, that was on the 15th. Were you aware whether the house had been searched by any other law enforcement agencies prior to your search on the 15th?
Yes, sir, I was. I knew that the Knoxville Police Department had searched the house a few days earlier.
Let me show you some items. Ask if you recognize those. Let me show you 306. Ask if you recognize any of that on the outside.
The white evidence label is a ATF evidence label. It has our case number. It has the description of the property that's inside the bag, and that is my signature, and there's a date. That's my handwriting on the signature line.
Okay, what's the date?
It is 1/15/07.
So looking at these 306, do you recognize now what that is?
Yes, sir. Those are the pink shoes that were in the back bedroom closet at the Chittenden Street address.
And so you confiscated these?
Yes, sir.
What did you do with them?
Took them into ATF custody and placed them into evidence.
Were they eventually turned over to the Knoxville Police Department?
Yes, sir.
Were they kept here until they were turned over to the police department?
Yes, sir, they were.
We don't have to open this up. Let's see, 327. Unless you need to look at that packaging.
Well, I believe the evidence label on the brown paper bag's been turned inside. This is the bleach bottle that we found in the kitchen cabinet at the Chipman Street address.
And you, again, you confiscated that along with the shoes?
Yes, sir.
As part of that search on the 15th?
Yes, sir.
Put off 327 into evidence. Now, let me ask you, I skipped around, I jumped ahead of this, but you talked about in a couple of those pictures, 198 and 199, about the shoebox and the revolver in the shoebox.
Yes, sir.
Did you have occasion on the 12th, Friday the 12th, to confiscate a revolver?
Yes, sir, I did.
And if you look at 304 there, no, it's going to be 305. Ask if you recognize what that is.
Yes, sir. This is the evidence box. The .22 caliber Clark revolver is, if it's in there, that's the revolver. It's in the photograph in the white shoebox.
Now, how did you have occasion on the 12th to confiscate this item?
We searched the Shuck Avenue address on the day before, and the morning of the 12th we drove to Louisville, Kentucky to the federal court for the initial appearance of the defendant George Thomas and Latavius Cobbins. On our way back, when we searched the residence on Shuck Avenue on the 11th, this gun wasn't, we didn't find the gun. It was in the back bedroom on the 12th. It wasn't there. The box, the white shoebox with the bow, was under the bed. On the 12th, we received a call from the Kentucky State Police, and they advised that they had recovered this revolver. It had been turned over to by Natasha Hayes and a lady named Jennifer Hayes, which I believe is maybe not her blood kin sister, but they consider themselves sisters. They said they had found this revolver while they were trying to clean up the house.
That may come later. Won't get into too much hearsay there. But at any rate, this 305, I'll go ahead. If you want to put on gloves. .305. You recognize what that?
Yes, sir. This is the .22 caliber revolver that I took into ATF custody the night of the evening of the 12th of January, 2007.
Can you hold that up, please? So that's a lighter chrome, lighter color than the other. Well, that's chrome revolver, lighter color.
Chrome, nickel plated.
Can you tell what caliber that is? If you know.
Yes, sir. It's a .22 caliber. It's a revolver.
Now, from the time you apprehended Mr. Thomas on the 11th to the time you recovered the revolver, reportedly from 231 Shuck Avenue, did Mr. Thomas ever leave custody?
No, sir, he did not.
So he would not have had access back into 231 Shuck Avenue?
No, sir.
Overnight?
No, sir.
And you searched that house thoroughly on the 11th?
Yes, sir. We did.
You didn't find this revolver?
No, sir. It wasn't there.
You're not testifying that Mr. Thomas had anything to do with putting that revolver
No, sir, I'm not.
back in the house? We would move 305. What did you do with that revolver after you confiscated it on the 12th?
I was with my ATF supervisor. We put it in our vehicle. We drove back to Knoxville that night, and sometime late that night, or maybe very early the next morning, we met with evidence technician from the Knoxville, Tennessee Police Department and turned it over to the Knoxville Police Department.
Now, one last thing. Did you, during that search of 2316 Chipman Street on the 15th and the 16th, were you assisted by anybody?
Yes, sir. We were assisted by the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation Crime Lab. I believe they sent 4 TBI special agents that are assigned to their criminalistics unit to help. There was also some Knoxville Police Department investigators that are assigned to ATF as task force officers.
And during your search of that house, did you observe any thing in the house that appeared to be bullet holes, possible bullet holes?
Yes, sir. In the living room, if you're looking out the front door on the left wall in the living room, about midway up the paneling, there was what I believe to be a 22 bullet hole in the wall. There was also what I believe to be a larger diameter bullet hole in the ceiling in the middle of the living room.
Okay, why don't we have that down here? If you can step down, and why don't you take that? And just put BH, I guess, bullet hole. What you're talking about? Can you tell us what exhibit number that is, that green tag down there?
The exhibit number is 302.
302, okay. Can you mark on 302 where the bullet holes were?
This was some kind of insert fireplace. The 22 bullet hole I referred to was about here. It was halfway up the paneling, and then the larger, what I believe to be the bullet hole in the ceiling, was maybe directly in the center. And it's straight up.
Okay, can you write the ceiling underneath that? We'll know what you're talking about. And did you follow whether you observed any other potential possible bullet holes?
That's the only thing that I'm sorry. That's what we went back with the other search warrant for.
Okay, thank you. That's what.
Agent Wagner, when you went in the house at Shuck Avenue, and were you able to determine where Mr. Thomas had spent the night?
I believe he spent the night upstairs in the loft bedroom.
And was that the bedroom with where Natasha Hayes stayed?
I believe so, yes, sir.
Was there any gun found in that bedroom?
No, sir.
Any bullets found in that bedroom?
No, sir.
Did you make a report
Yes, sir.
or memo? Do you have it there?
I made 2 or 3 reports. Which one?
The one of the search. Now, President Trump.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. But this is a report of your activities on January the 11th, correct?
One of the reports, yes, sir.
One of the reports?
That's, I've tried to break it up. That's about searching her house.
Correct. And this is, I guess you'd say, the formal typewritten version.
Yes, sir.
Did you take notes before then of what you found?
We made an inventory. I don't think we made investigative notes.
And this is a report of your activities on January the 11th and was written up on January 30th, correct?
Yes, sir.
You wouldn't normally wait, I mean, that was like 18 or 19 days later, correct?
I believe so.
You wouldn't wait 18 months to make a report like this, would you?
No, sir.
The firearm that was found in Natasha Hayes' residence, were you able to determine whose bedroom that was? Temporary bedroom?
My understanding of it is it was Vanessa Coleman and Latavius Collins.
Now the bullet holes that were at the Chipman Street address that you saw, was there any way of determining when they were made?
No, sir.
Or by whom?
No, sir.
Could have been years before?
I would disagree with years. The bullet hole in the panel wall wasn't that old. I could tell that, but I don't know exactly when or by whom.
Okay. There were other bullet holes as well, though, besides the one in the
Well,
panel.
there was at least one in the ceiling.
Okay. And you weren't part of the interview there at the Lebanon Police Department of Mr. Thomas, correct?
No, sir, it was not.
I have a moment, Thomas. No further questions.
Agent Wagner.
Thank you, sir.
Clint Green. He's going to be the AT&T. So Clint Green, he's going to be the AT&T representative.
Next, please.
Yeah, it's going to be Clint Green. He's the representative from AT&T.
All right.
solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony that you're about to give in this case be the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God. Yes, sir.
Give us your name, sir.
My name is Clint Green,
Where are you employed?
AT&T.
What do you do for AT&T?
I'm a retail sales manager.
And are you also have as a duty of being a keeper of records?
Yes, I'm a custodian of records.
Let me show you Exhibit 392. Ask if you recognize Exhibit 392.
Yes.
And what is Exhibit 392?
It is verification of authenticity of AT&T records.
And for what phone number?
270-402-1783.
And who is the account holder?
On this one, or do you want me to go through? Do you want me to do the other 270-402-2079? Because there's two numbers listed.
Yeah, I'm sorry, the 270-402-2079. Who is the account holder for that phone number?
For the 2079,
Yes, sir.
it's Mary Marquis, or M-C-A-T-E-E, if I'm pronouncing that right.
Okay. And where are they located at?
It's out of Kentucky.
And was there another phone number?
The first phone number is 270-402-1783.
Who's the account holder for that number?
Ramona Lawson,
Give me that number one more time.
270-402-1783.
1783.
Yes.
And the name on that one?
It's R-O-M-O-N-A, Ramona.
Lawson?
Yep.
And for the 2079, what was the name?
It was Mary, and the last name was spelled M-C-A-T-E-E.
And again, the second phone number is also out of Kentucky.
Yes.
The cell phone records, did the cell phone records show whether or not the phone was in service after January 4th, 2007?
If you go to the call log, the last call on the 2079 will be January 4th at 9:52 a.m.
Okay. What was the date again?
January 4th, 9:52 a.m.
And what's that name there at the top?
It's Stacy J. Lawson,
And that's for what number?
270-402-2079.
Now, why are there two different names?
Okay. The original for the 270-402-2079, Mary is on there because she is the subscriber name, which means she would be the account holder who is financially responsible for making the payments of the device. It's in her name based off her credit.
Okay, so she's the account holder.
Correct.
And then what is Stacy Lawson?
She would be considered a user.
She's the user. So if the last date for the activity is January 4th, 2007, if there are any phone calls placed to that number, the 2079, let's say on January 7th, 2007, would it show up on those records?
Not if it was made on January 7th. There's only records till January 4th.
And if the phone was cut off and on January 7th, if you were to call the number, what would happen?
It would either tell you based off the provider that the number is no longer in service, or it would just go nowhere. Like it would just go like to a busy signal.
And would there be any records at all of those phone calls to that number?
No, if the service is turned off, there can't be any phone records.
Move the sentence Exhibit 392.
All right.
Pass the witness.
No questions, Ron.
Mr. Green, thank you.
Thank you.
Ashley Goins. She will be the representative from Minnesota.
solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony that you're about to give in this case will be the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Hello, give us your name, please.
Ashley Goins,
Can you spell your last name?
Goins,
And your first name?
Ashley.
And where are you employed?
United States Cellular.
What do you do for United States Cellular?
I'm a technical services coach.
And are you also, another duty, are you also the custodian of the records?
No.
Are you the keeper of the records?
Oh, I'm sorry, yes.
Okay. What does that entail? What does that mean? What do you do as keeper of the records?
Well, we have a billing system and I review records. I have 12 employees that work for me that talk with our customers daily, and they're responsible to maintain confidentiality, and I oversee that.
And the records that your company has, these records, are they maintained in the normal course of business?
Yes, ma'am.
And first, I want to show you Exhibit 420 and ask if you can recognize, identify Exhibit 420.
Yes, ma'am.
What is Exhibit 420?
This is someone in our subpoena department that basically has given call records. These are our switch call records.
Okay. And that is for, you want to look and see the name on the account? And the phone number?
Tracy Presley.
What's the phone number?
Phone number is 865-254-2224.
Move that in as Exhibit 420. And then if I can show you Exhibit 395.
Sure.
What is Exhibit 395?
These are also call records.
Call records.
Yes, ma'am.
For what phone number?
Phone number 865-660-3783.
And do you have the account holder on that?
Yes, Deena, D-E-E-N-A, Christian, last name.
I'd like to move those in as Exhibit 395. If you want to hold on to those.
Sure.
If you could, those records, they show any activity for January 7th, 2007.
Okay. Just a second. Yes.
Okay. What time is there a phone call?
On January 7th, the first activity is at 4:05 a.m. and it's a voicemail call.
Okay. Is there anything at 12:33 a.m.?
Let's see. On the 7th, January 7th?
Maybe on the 6th?
I don't see that.
Let's see here.
You said 11:47 a.m.?
12. I was looking for 12:33 p.m.
Okay.
So I might meet them back.
Yes, 12:33 a.m. on the 7th.
Okay, and so on January 7th, 2007, tell us about that phone call.
Okay, it was placed at 12:33 a.m. And it was duration of 1 minute long.
And what phone number was called?
865-539-3722.
If you want to hold your place there, let's mark that. Highlighter. I'm just going to get a little marker. Can you highlight that one?
Sure.
And it will stick you there.
Okay. Okay.
And just so the jury knows, all of those records, are they like, it's probably 2006 through 2007?
Yes.
All right. That's Exhibit 395. We'll pass the witness.
Thank you. Sorry, Your Honor. We have no questions, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Called Isaac Ndi. Thank you.
Raise your right hand, please. You solemnly swear or affirm the testimony that you're about to give in this case, be the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God. Have me God, I do. Raise your right hand, please. You solemnly swear or affirm the testimony that you're about to give in this case, be the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God. Have me God, I do.
Give us your name, please.
My name is Babakar Isaac Ndi.
Can you spell your last name?
Ndiaye. Babacar
And your middle name.
Isaac.
And what name do you go by?
I go by Isaac.
Isaac. So where are you employed?
I work for U.S. Cellular.
And what do you do with U.S. Cellular?
I'm a radio frequency engineer.
And what is a radio frequency engineer?
We call it RF in short, and an RF engineer designs a network and optimize it, selects where the towers go, and make sure the customer, when they hit send, that they can make the call go through.
And what is your educational background?
I earned a bachelor's of science in electrical engineering from the University of Delaware back in 2001.
And how long have you held this position with U.S. Cellular?
Since 2001, since July 2001.
And have you been qualified before as an expert as a radio frequency engineer?
Yes, I have.
We would offer Mr. Isaac Ndi as an expert in radio frequency engineering.
No objections.
So qualified.
Sir, if you could explain to us, you said that what you do is you set up the network and find a place to put the towers. Explain that to us.
Well, the way a wireless network works is that you have to start with having towers where you place antennas, and usually you do it with three sectors, three sides of the of that rod center or the center line that you're in, and those antennas will communicate to the areas that they assign to cover. And that whole antenna, the lines that connect them to the base station that communicates to the switch, forms the network basically.
And have you provided us with some maps that can demonstrate what the network is and about the 3 different areas?
Yes, I have.
It's okay if you were to step down, and it probably is better for us to put the board in the middle of the room. Yes, right here. start with this one. All right, you recognize Exhibit 294. Keep in mind you got you some jurors back there. You want to? There's a laser camera up here if you want to use that. Or, clear is good for you.
That'll work.
Okay. What, do you recognize this exhibit here? Exhibit 294?
This exhibit represented the state of the network, the U.S. cellular network back in 2007 at that specific time, because networks evolve, you add more sites, more towers, and you reorient your sectors. And what I mean sectors, you can see, for example, this is our Westview side, and it's got those 3 sectors, and each sector will cover a certain area.
Okay. And now the 3 sectors, what, is there a letter, or what are the 3 sectors? How can you identify the 3 sectors?
Well, we've got different ways of identifying them, but for the purpose of the switch detail, code detail records, they are identified with what's called a CLLI, and it's in hex. Hex is just like a binary is. It's just like a numbering sequence. Decimal. We use decimal 1, 2, 0, 1, 2, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's decimal, and then when you go to binary, that's when you use zeros and ones to assign names, numbers, whatever you want. But hex is also a way of making binary shorter, just so your numbers can be displayed in a very short way for communication.
And you said, so what you then do, you got your different sectors, and it helps you, it determines which switch it goes to.
Well, the sectors in the code detail records, the sectors tell you what area your call originated from. But what determines what sector you are on the code detail record is what we call the CLLI, which is the Common Language Location Identifier. And so you have 2 ways of knowing it, where the call starts, that's the origination CLLI, and the termination CLLI. So the originating sector and the terminating sector.
And so the originating sector, does that tell you where the phone is when the phone call is made?
Yes.
And the terminating CLLI, that tells you where the phone is when the phone call ends?
Yeah, basically, the way to look at it is, if you're our customer and you're placing the call, it'll tell you where you were when the call that you're placing was made. If you are a customer and you're receiving a call, it'll show where the termination happened. So where were you when the incoming call came through?
Okay. And so what I'd like to do is I'd like to go through a couple of them. First, let me move into Evidence Exhibit 294. And you recognize Exhibit 292 here?
Yes, I do.
And what is Exhibit 292?
This is what we call the switch call detail record, and you could get it for a certain customer, and for that specific customer in a certain period of time, you could determine what calls they made from what number to what number, what digits they dialed, and where on the network they were located. Okay.
So let's go with What can you tell us about this phone call here at 20:07:17?
Well, you can start with the date. This call occurred January 6, 2007, and it was at 8 p.m., 7 minutes and 17 seconds. That's when the call was connected, and it lasted for only 2 seconds. And basically, the origination number was our customer's number, and our number is 865-660-3783, and they called 789-5566. When they dialed that 789-5566, automatically the switch added the area code, which is 865, and placed the call. So the call was placed from our customer, and the call type tells you that it went somewhere maybe outside of our network, but either that or to the switch. But it was not from a US Cellular customer to a US Cellular customer. And it tells you here where the customer was on the origination CLLI, and the termination CLLI shows the 0156, which actually is our switch.
So if we wanted to find out where this and the customer is going to be the 660-3783,
That's correct.
if we want to find out where this phone was when this phone made the phone call at 8:07 p.m. and 17 seconds, what would we look at?
You look at the origination CLLI, and it will tell you that the call occurred in the coverage area of the cell, which is a site 111 in hex, and from the second sector. Okay. So 111 in hex would have to be translated to decimal, so that I could be able to tell you what they are, what that was. And actually I have done that. In this case, 111 is in hex would be 273, and the sector 2, and that would be our eastbound sector 2.
So, sir, if I can show you Exhibit 296, do you recognize this map here, Exhibit 296?
Yes, I do. I generated this one from that.
And so, again, so you're telling us that at 8:07 p.m., the phone was in the East Town sector?
Was not only was it East Town is the site, but East Town has 3 sectors. So this sector that's closest to 0 degree is the sector 1. Mm-hmm. This sector is sector 2. So I can tell you that at the time that the call was made, the area in green will determine most the area where the site, the phone was. Okay. In this type of green, because I'm sorry, there are different greens, but like the south pointing sector, okay, is the one.
So that if we were to go to the phone call there on the 7th, what can you tell us about the phone call there on the 7th?
That call on the 7th that you pointed to was connected at midnight, 33 minutes and 7 seconds, and it lasted 31 seconds. And the call was made from our customer's number to the 539-3722 number. So that's a local number, so the switch automatically added the area code, and 865, 539-3722. And somehow it's from our customer to the switch or somebody outside. So basically it routed through our switch to somebody outside of our network. It was not from our mobile to another of our mobile.
Okay.
And lastly, the origination of the call was at 11B and Sector 3. So 11B would equate to our Cherry Street site and the third sector of that Cherry Street.
So showing you exhibit 298, 293, 298. You reckon that's exhibit 298?
Yes, I do.
And what is exhibit 298?
Exhibit 298 is in the same line of exhibit that shows the map of the coverage area for each of the sectors around the Cherry Street area. And for the specific call that we just went through, it shows that this is the Cherry Street Sector 1, Sector 2, and Sector 3 in green here, which say that that call happened in this green area, somewhere within this green area.
If you could, using this blue marker, if you could mark in the area where the phone call was made at 12:33 a.m. on January 7, 2007.
So that would be, well, within this area, and the sector in question on the call detail record is 11B3.
And in that green area, could you write 12:33 a.m. 1/7/07?
Can you say that again?
I'm sorry. 12:33.
So 00?
Yes, sir. 33. Okay.
And
then I was just going to say January 7th.
do you want the seconds or no?
Sure, the seconds, yes.
07?
Sure.
And the date was?
Yes. January 7th, 07. I'll move to evidence exhibit 298. And exhibit 296. Now, how can you be certain that that phone call at 12:33:07 a.m. was not made from the East End sector?
Okay, so now we go back to how the wireless network works. In our case, we deployed what's called CDMA technology, and in CDMA, the way the network works is you have multiple sectors, and each sector with an antenna transmitting its signal. And so they are competing signals, and at some point there is what we call the equal power boundary, and that's where those sectors meet, basically. That's where they have the same power, they have the same energy. And so at that exact moment you could be on either one of those areas, right? But within this area, for example, in green here, from eastbound, there's no doubt that's where you're going to be on eastbound. The only question that might be if you were on the board, that's where we say, maybe I could be here, maybe 10 feet here or so. But the reason why it couldn't be eastbound and it was Cherry Street, Sector 3, is because the call detail record said so. It would have, if it was East Town, it would have said it's whatever that CLI for East Town was, it would have said that, but it didn't say specifically that at that time 0033 and 7 seconds that we were at 11B3. And those two sectors are so far apart that there's no way it could be. There's also another aspect to this, which is the terrain limitation. Like Cherry Street is what we call a very small tower. It's not a 300-footer. It's not like a tower like one that would be on top of how do you call it, like a big mountain. Okay. And so it doesn't travel very far. It's a very small footprint side. So that sector has a very small footprint, basically.
Okay. And so looking at the switch records, on some of these columns, you've got it where this phone is calling, it looks like the originating number is the dial number.
Yes.
Why is that? What does that mean?
Well, when you call yourself, it means that you're calling your voicemail. And so there are many ways of doing that. There are some shortcuts where you dial 1 and you call in your voicemail. But in this case, the switch knows it's smart. It knows that you want to call your voicemail. It'll dial your number, the phone's number itself, and get you connected to the voicemail. And here, although you called yourself, the number that was called is the switch number.
I believe the evidence was at 292. Thank you, sir. Ask it.
Question?
I'm not sure I have enough. I'm not sure I could ask a question on this, Your Honor. I have no further questions.
Okay. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
And we approach.
Members of the jury, we're going to recess for today, and we'll pick up the trial at 9 tomorrow morning. I want to thank you very much for your patience and attention, and the lawyers tell me we're well progressing in the trial. Okay, thank you. Okay, we'll recess for today, and I'll meet with council and changes here in 5 minutes. Thank you.